Seems like everybody's got a price. I wonder how they sleep at night. When the sale comes first and the truth comes second, just stop for a minute and smile. Everybody look to the left. Everybody look to the right. Can you feel that? Yeah, we're filled with love tonight. It's not a
But it is about the money because integers is money. We're dealing with having money, depositing, or withdrawing money, taking it away. Integers is all about gaining and losing. So let's talk about how we can combine integers. Integers simply means positive or negative numbers. And numbers, that is a hashtag symbol, originally a number symbol. All right, so positive we write with a plus sign, and negative we write with a negative sign. And this will show up in front of the number. So if a number is written like this, that's saying that it's a positive 3. It could also be written positive 3. That could be a plus. But if a number is written like this, well, then that's negative 3. You say it before the number, so you write it before the number. All right, so let's talk about these rules because it helps so much if you can just memorize the rules. Adding. When we're adding integers, okay, let's get color crazy. We're going to say positive is purple and negative is red. So if I have a positive number, and I'm adding a negative number, my rule is that I need to subtract and I keep the sign of the larger number. All right, for example, if I have 4 plus negative 6, that's the same as saying 4 minus 6. But that's not 2 because I only have 4. Can I take 6 away? No, I can only take 4 away. So I subtract the two numbers, 4 minus 6 or 6 minus 4 is 2. But because the 6 is negative 6, my answer is negative 2. All right, but what if I have a negative number plus a positive number? My same rule applies. So let's look at an example. If I have negative 4 plus 6, well, now my 4 is negative. This could also be written as 6 minus 4 because addition I can do in any order. Okay, but nonetheless, I have 6 minus 4 is 2. This 6 is positive. That's my larger number and it's positive, so my answer is positive. And I can either put the positive or I don't have to. It's assumed if it's not written. So either of those would be my answer. We have 2 more types of problems. We could have, like you're used to, where you have a positive plus a positive. And in this case, you're just going to add and your answer is going to be positive. example, 4 plus 6. Both are positive. My answer is positive. The second example is if I have, or the second rule is if I have a negative plus a negative. Colors are so fun. And in this case, same thing as two positives. I add, the only difference is my answer is negative. So my example, -4 plus -6 equals -10. Add, keep the negative. Okay. What about for subtracting integers? Now this one's a little bit trickier. When we're subtracting integers, we have a really important phrase to remember and understand how to use. And that is that we add, we change our minus sign to an addition sign, the opposite, meaning we change the sign of the second number. So, for this, I'm going to say let's just use some examples to figure out how we want to write the rules. So if I have a -6 minus 2, I'm going to rewrite this problem by saying -6, but remember, it's not minus. I have to change it to add. So now I have plus, and the opposite of -2, the opposite of +2 is -2. So I'm adding a negative. So now I follow my addition rules. I have two negatives, so I add them, and I keep the negative. Okay, let's look at another. What if I have -6 minus -2? I keep my first number. I change my minus sign to a plus sign, and I change the sign of my second number from negative to positive. Oops. And it becomes a positive. The number stays the same, 2. So now I have -6 plus 2. Now I have a negative plus a positive. So I come back up to my addition rules. Negative plus a positive. I need to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So subtract, 6 minus 2 is 4. The larger number is 6, so it's -4 because the 6 is negative. That is about it for subtraction. So remember, we first have to add the opposite, and then we need to follow our addition rules. And I'll give you one more example to go off of. What if I have 6 minus -2? This is going to become 6 plus +2, or 6 plus 2, which is 8. So remember, add the opposite. Change your minus to a plus. Change the second number, whatever the sign is, to its opposite. The opposite of positive is negative. The opposite of negative is positive. Okay, take a deep breath. Moving on to multiplication and division. For the second time, multiplying and dividing is actually easier than adding and subtracting. Now, I like to use this sleeping Mickey Mouse, we can call it, or sleeping baby, because this looks like a pacifier to me. But what we need to remember when we're multiplying and dividing integers, is how to draw the sleeping baby. Because essentially what we're doing is we're essentially going to cover up whatever our two signs are, and the sign left over is going to be the sign of our answer. So let's look at a couple examples. what if I have -2 times -8? Well, I first start by multiplying. 2 times 8 is 16. But now I have two negatives, so I'm going to cover up with my finger my two negatives. I'm going to use a highlighter because you can't see my finger. What I'm left with is positive. So that means my answer is positive. But what if I have -3 times 2? Well, 3 times 2 is 6, but I have a negative and a positive. So what's left over? What's left over is negative. So my answer is -6. And the same works for division. If I have 12 divided by -4, I'm going to start by dividing. 12 divided by 4 is 3. I cover up a positive and a negative, and I'm left with a negative. So my answer is -3. If I have -16 divided by -2, I start by dividing. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Then I cover up my two negatives, and I'm left with a positive. So my answer is +8. So simply start by multiplying or dividing. And then we're going to use Sleeping Mickey. To determine our sign. And the way you draw Sleeping Mickey is as such. Start with a circle. In the circle, draw a peace sign. It's sleeping, so the two eyes have to be negatives. And it's a baby because the plus sign looks like a pacifier. The ears of Mickey are to remind us that we multiply, let me fix that, or divide. Multiplication and division only. All right, go ahead and play, pause, and repeat until you have these rules memorized, because trust me, you are going to need them.